Hello. So, this video, have a new lift. So, first thing on the list, this engine came with a little cylinder. It only has, it has decently low miles. So I'm robbing this. So all it is this little clamp here, little clamp there. You get the idea. You just press this and then just try to pop it out. As I'm taking out this little evap piece, I also found out it has this sensor. This sensor is very familiar looking. So I'm gonna take it and try something. Twist and plug. This comes off as one unit. So if we look, the sensors are super damn identical. I think they have the same mounting spot and everything. Only big difference I'm noticing, this one has two nipples, like for two vacuum lines. This one only has one. Oh wait, I noticed one just goes in there. Now I see the big difference. So this one is straight. It's like a parallel vacuum lines. And this one have a vacuum line that goes into the intake manifold, into the D17. This guy, it has a vacuum line. I only have one. The second one actually goes directly into the throttle body. So you can't use this little sensor. But oh well, no biggie. At least I can use this little guy. I don't want to see an exposed plug. When I was removing this junk, this one Phillips screw decided to strip. No matter how hard I could get it, the bolt failed. Stuck. So what I did was I got the pry bar, wedged into the sensor, shoved the sensor out, and then the little core, that little ring, came undone from the sensor, and I was able to get the sensor out from the vacuum line. And I had more room now. Grabbed my can locks, wrapped it around the bolt, and twisted it. She came out. Now I can throw it away. I'm pissed at it. I can go old school, no plugs or nothing crazy. I prefer to see this than whatever this weird nonsense is. Just like that, it popped in. It looks clean, and I did clean it up too. It looked really dirty before, so I'm pretty hyped with that. Only thing that needs a home is this guy. Maybe one day I'll find it. I'll be running a custom exhaust, which is basically the 08 SI catback. Well, I need to make some custom exhaust hangers. Something I did a while ago was I hammered the back of the Civic to make more room. I found out that I destroyed this one, which is perfect because it came off and I can move it wherever I want. This bushing was in the center. It goes like for the resonator. I took it because I need it for here. I'll probably have it hanging right here, and the exhaust will be sitting pretty. But something else I'm trying to do is delete this other one because no reason for it. So I've been hammering it. Just like the engine mounts, it's out. Those spot welds are a pain in the ass, but hey, a little bit of weight reduction. It's been like 40 minutes or something, but this exhaust used to have a rusted bolt in it that was broken. I flapped this, used a hammer, used a chisel. That's a lot of work and grinding, a lot of sparks later. Got those out, and the good thing is I can put a nut and bolt setup now instead of depending on a little bolt that has to go in that nut. I would prefer a nut and bolt setup, so glad that's over with and done. Next thing I need to do, I need to cut this flange off because this flange is no good to me. And exhaust is ready. Cut off the flange, and now I can run a nut and bolt setup here. I wasn't able to use it before because these little issues, but now later in the future when I have to make the new exhaust, I can cut it up, put together pieces, and weld it. Hello. So, something I need to do. A while ago, I extended this cam sensor plug, and after talking to a few people and discussing things, I did it incorrectly because I use a lot of butt connectors, and a lot of butt connectors can cause resistance, and also the wire is not copper. It shouldn't matter what kind of wire you use, but just for safety measures, I want it to be a copper wire, and I want it to be soldered. So, got my little solder tool here. I got some extra solder laying around, so I'll do it correctly and undo this. So I'm gonna do the electrical tape right now. Here's the silly wiring job that I did. Honestly, I don't hate it. This thing is on there, like, it will not come off. Really don't want to undo this, but people are telling me that it's just not good, especially for an important sensor like the cam. This one, which is for the temp, I'm leaving that one alone because I remember I used copper wires, I'm very certain, and honestly, I don't really see this one as crazy important, so it should be fine. But this one I do get a little worried about. Buck connectors are out. This sucked to do, and now the plug has some exposed coppers, and these are cut out. I don't have much space to play with it, but now I can get some extra wire and solder them. Voila! I have extended the wire by using solder. Pretty good. This took so long, and I had to use a little bench. So trying to do these are going to be a nightmare. If you look, I soldered them up. This is beautiful. That ain't going nowhere. I electrical taped them like that so they're strong. That's what I wanted to show you. Now they're all soldered up. These are all copper wires. So this would be a very happy sensor. And the colors all match. Now I'm just going to put electrical tape here and here. And then wrap all back together. Looks fresh. Looks good. And I'm just going to plug it in. Plugged in like nothing ever happened. Next thing I want to do is try to see if I can move this to this side. So I'm looking at it and I'm noticing that this harness connects here. So I'm going to undo all this electrical tape and see if these harnesses are separate. If they're connected and they go into like one long wire, that'll suck. But if they're separate and it's like its own harness, then I have a lot of room to like move it around and stuff. Alright boys, so I have some sad news. So the fuse box, I don't think I'll be relocating it to the driver's side because I opened up this harness and there's quite a few wires you have to extend. If it weren't so many, I'd be okay with it. But you have to do that. Then you have to also mess with this. I don't know if any of these actually go into the fuse box, but after that, you have to cut this entire loom, move it to the side, then extend a bunch of these wires. And honestly, I don't see this worth it. I wanted it to look like an RSX engine bay, but I guess you gotta choose your battles. This one, I'm just gonna leave alone. I'm just gonna tape this back up, put it back together. ES1 Civic's fuse box is just gonna have to go into the stock location. So that's a bummer. But in the meantime, what I can do is extend this harness. And just like that, soldered up, much better connections. And it's long enough now, so it plugs into the brake booster and into this power steering sensor thing. Beautiful. All right, now time to electrical tape it up and make it look clean. And boom, look at that. That looks pretty damn clean. Tucked away, hidden. Glad that's over with. Update. So my Civic SI didn't come with any hardware for the mounts. Well, I was looking at the D17, I noticed it's got a good amount of mounts that look very identical to this one. So I took off the transmission nuts and bolts from the D17. Now they're dirty, but they fit perfectly on there. Then I took off the bolts for the transmission mount for the D17. They fit perfectly on the K-series one. And I needed this transmission bolt that goes like right here, with this long center one. I didn't have that. The D17 is the exact same thing. So I stole the bolt from there. I stole the bolts from this one. This nut, I took the nut. And then another few bolts that I need are these two side ones. Because mine, unfortunately, doesn't have them. You still have your D17 before you sell it? Take all the hardware from it. I cannot believe how many things are interchangeable from the D17. That's so good. That saved me a few bucks or something, or a few junkyard runs. Engine bay came out pretty good. Cleaned it all up with alcohol and then a rag. It ain't perfect, but it looks presentable. So I feel comfortable touching it and stuff. And then the wire fixed up. Just been trying to get random things here and there done. So these control arms seem to have a difference. There's a Type S. There's a regular RSX or EP3SI or Honda Civic one. They line up here pretty good, but when you get to the ball joint area, actually a little bit different. The Type S is a small bit longer, and that depth actually matters because if it was a little shorter, if you have the Type S axles, it'll mess up your transmission. So if you're gonna do Type S axles, you want to have the Type S lower control arm because it pushes it out a little bit more. And also these are bad because that happened. Something I want to do, there's this bracket that's holding on to the fuel lines. I don't really want them there because it's pointing away. So on the engine, on the new K20, the fuel lines are on this side, on the driver's side. This is pointing to the passenger. So I'm gonna do those brackets and bend the lines to go towards the driver's side. Those two 10mm bolts are gonna be out. And we're gonna bend them like I did with the HV lines. Make sure you don't kink them because that'll suck. And also I did write down what they are. One says fuel and the other one is for the evap. Get your 1/2-inch Milwaukee impact gun. That has some real power. Put it to work. Last one. So those bolts out of the way. I can move this bracket now. What I'm gonna do is, lines are free. I can basically move this bracket. I can't do this one hand, but undo this clip that's holding onto this wire. So these lines are like connected together by a bracket. All I'm doing is just messing with it. Instead of just come undone, it's starting to get separate. It's this weird little clip here. If keep messing with this, it'll pop off. Just like that. Bent the fuel lines. I took that bracket out, so instead of pointing out there, now they come in this direction. Doesn't look the prettiest. I almost kinked, well, I actually kinked them, then bent them back. Took a lot of manhandling, but evap is over here. Fuel line is up here. It's basically going to be pointing towards the engine. That guy's just pointing that way, but a lot better to be pointing with better flow over here than that way. Something I'm going to do to the engine. These headers won't fit with the RSX subframe or the EP3SI subframe, but I really want to make them work. So what I'm going to do is I'll take them off and then put the EP3 headers on. And then when I put this engine on the RSX subframe, I'm going to cut these up. So I put a little hammer down there. So now the engine is not really leaning against the headers because before it was on the headers. I already lubed up the exhaust bolts, already got them loose. So time to remove it and install these ugly things. These happen to be a size 14. Oh, that's gone. Unfortunately, this side is stripped because when it's coming off, it didn't even want to come off. Even though I let it sit for a day with lube, I'm gonna tap it to clean up the threads. I don't want to risk ruining it. This little header weighs more than this piece right here, which is crazy. Plus there's an O2 on it. Yeah, you can see quite a difference. This thing was on there. I tried to use a big wrench and a hammer. That didn't work. So it whipped out the good old impact. O2 socket. She's coming. Can't really use this O2 unfortunately. I'll just keep it for now. And I have to reuse the O2 from the D17. Got this harness from the junkyard, off of the cord. So I think about cutting it like halfway through. I stopped myself and I remembered, wait, I can use all of this. I unfortunately did cut a little bit, but it still should be together. So right now I'm gonna cut off the loom. Took off all the looms, wasn't too bad. And here's what happened. These separated, so we have basically ground, power. Well, actually these are both power. One goes to the alternator, one goes directly to the battery. And here's the damage. What I did was took out some of the rubber excesses. I'm just gonna solder it up. It looks like a little mouth. And then this one, I got very lucky with this one. I didn't really cut into it. I just cut the insulation. That's sweet. I gotta put some electrical tape. Now I have some extensions so I can relocate the battery. So I got some solder. I'm gonna solder it up, make it much stronger. Well, there you go, soldered up. It's nice and strong now. I'm gonna electrical tape it so it can be stronger and protected. This line will be good. Look at this weird contraption. I have 3 jacks holding onto the subframe. Now it's floating just enough to get the engine hoist out. Now I'm ready to lift up the engine. So I took off this mount, this bracket, put the rope through there, looped it around the transmission. Well, see, I snaked it through the transmission, then goes back around, and it locked onto the header. Hopefully it comes undone. There it is. The engine is out. It was pretty damn annoying to get the rear engine mount out. That bolt is super stuck and it's a 19. So I did the one over here. That's in the bottom. And then since it's angling up, I had to like lift it up. But pretty damn balanced. That came out so good. Time to get the EP3 subframe and try to make it work. We're gonna be installing the charge harness today. Something I noticed about this charge harness, it doesn't have the plug for the AC compressor. So I'm just gonna ignore that. And also, there's a few sensors on here that are a little bit different. Like the knock sensor's a little different. And one plug for the starter. So we're gonna be splicing and changing up some wires. And also we're gonna be extending this one. This harness is gonna go in, and I'm gonna use this battery terminal. And then to extend it, I'm gonna use the other charge harness that I got from the Accord. Right now I'm gonna do this and see which one is for the alternator and which one for the starter. The white one is for the starter, and it's on facing the fuse box like this. Starter is to the right, and then the one for the alternator is to the left. Now while you have all this room, you can undo this bracket that holds the intake manifold. This would be a 12, or I'm pretty sure it's a 12. Remove this 12, and then to get to that nut, it's just easier to remove the starter because it's really hard to get into that nut there. You don't want to remove the water next or anything. So I'm gonna remove this and loosen that bolt. That's the bolt right there to get the starter out. Starter's out. It only had one bolt on it, and it was kind of tricky to get to. So for it to next time be easier to remove whenever this goes bad, we're gonna put some anti-seize on this bad boy. Something else, I'm gonna be stealing this guy. This guy plugs into the starter, and the one on the new charge harness from the EP3, it has this style connector, and it just won't work. So we're gonna be robbing this, and also I know this one goes to here because there's a very thick black wire, and this guy's also a pretty thick. Oh wait, I got confused. There you go. This one's also a thick black wire. Now you don't have to do this. I'm pretty sure you could make this work in there, but I don't feel like risking it. I'd rather just have the plug for the Z3. If you don't have this plug, then hey, you can still use this, I'm pretty sure. You gotta get creative. But while I'm here, I'm gonna extend it and swap. And another thing too is, this little guy's for the knock sensor. You also want to take the one from the Z3. I really don't want to because I have a knock sensor right here. This is off of a Honda Accord. It's good to have them because K-Series love to go through knock sensors. But that one I'm going to swap because this one has a very low miles. This one, I'm not sure. I'm going to change the knock sensor plug to, which is this one. So this is the Accord style, and it works perfectly. It fits like a dream. I don't know why, but this one is different. So I'm going to use the one that came with the Z3. So I'm going to be swapping those from the Z3 harness too. And anyway, my Z3 harness is useless because it's already cut up. And honestly, it's only the starter and alternator. I'm going to switch some connectors around. Just like that, Z3 harness is missing 2 plugs. And this guy has been extended, all soldered up. And I wish you could see it, but this is beautiful. There's a big ball of solder. They're on there. That is not going to come off. Now time to electrical tape it and wrap it up. Put on the starter and onto the engine. I guess there was no reason to make it this long. I thought I'd want it to be long, but now it's just kind of touching a lot of stuff. Anyways, harness is long. Starter nut is installed. Knock sensor can go right at home. Boom shakalaka. Everybody's happy. I might put a zip tie here to be honest. Now remember these two plugs that I never knew what they were for? Well, now we know. I can't do this with one hand, but I'll put these together. Starter was missing one bolt, and this one's too long. This is basically, that's actually an engine mount bolt that used to go through here, but I already have one, so I'll use that as a starter bolt. As you can see, it's too long. So I got some spacers and washers. I'm gonna see if I can make one of these fit in between there. Well, I didn't need to put a washer because I found a bolt from this is a bolt that's actually from my ES1 Civic's suspension. Literally, there's like random bolts on here that literally work. And these are OEM bolts, by the way, so they're good. But now all I need to do is just plug in the alternator. First, I'm gonna do this guy. It's pretty easy. That's in. Now I can plug this bad boy. Oh my goodness, so hard. Wow, he just won't go home. Oh, holy smoke. You gotta press that thing in there, but she's home, not coming off. Charge harness is in. It was not too bad at all. Everybody's home. You don't have to worry about anything else. That's awesome. The only thing is that I find very weird. There's nothing for the AC compressor. Just like that. Got a zip tie here on this little water neck piece. Got another zip tie right there, holding these wires down so it's not really touching the water necks. And then over here, on this like water neck bracket thing, I have a zip tie holding the harness back here. So now it's not like sticking out. It's kind of hiding under the intake manifold. Pretty damn hype. There's only two plugs that don't really have a home right now. The air temp, and then this little evap guy, which I just need to find a sensor one day. Oh, and then for here, I found this out. So these that plug into this, they're for the reverse light. And this is the speed sensor. I just found that out not too long ago. And I'm going to leave these as butt connectors because it's just for a light. I don't really care much about a light having resistance with the butt connectors. Just important sensors like the cams. Those should be soldered in. The other day I found a cord at the junkyard. It was an 03 to 07 model. I took the plugs. So I got this from the 5-speed transmission that was on it. And look at this. Fits right in. Take my word for it. This thing actually plugs in. Just right now this cable's in the way. But this is from a 5-speed and it goes right in. Oh, see that? And guess what? It's the same colors. These colors basically match the ones over here. So it's green and like yellowish. And down here, we have green and yellow. So I'm just gonna connect these real quick and we'll have a reverse light. Just like that, butt connectors are in and reverse light is on. That is so damn good. I'm just not gonna put it on right now, but if you look, this cable very close to it. I don't want to risk this cable, moving and destroying the plug or something. So I'm gonna leave it unplugged for now. But that's good. This is the speed sensor, which I'm gonna have to figure out.